Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Startup Secrets for Entrepreneurs, and I am your host, Shelby Olischlager. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs make a difference and navigate the messy world of startup or relaunch. Join me today where we dig deep with our guests to give you the best concepts and strategies to fast track your business. Today, we have a doctor with us. Dr. Emily, please give us an introduction. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really excited to chat. So to get started, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me on. I am a functional podiatrist by trade, also a human movement specialist. And I don't know if you'd say serial entrepreneur, but I absolutely love being an entrepreneur. Outside of running my medical practice, which is really a business in its own right. I run an education company where I travel around the world teaching health and wellness professionals about feet, barefoot science, human movement. And I have plenty of content that I've developed through that company. And then I'm the CEO and founder of Naboso, which is a product company that develops products to help people connect to their feet, or really the sensory side of feet, which connects to movement.
Awesome. So there's lots to unpack here. I'm curious, how did you get started wanting to create this type of business and start kind of coaching people and creating this community and a brand?
Yeah, so I actually started my entrepreneurial journey around 13, 14 years ago. And that was really combining my other background, which is in fitness. I've been in fitness for 20 years, with podiatry to create education for professionals. And it was really me wanting to find a way to combine all of my passions. Another topic outside of feet and fitness that I'm passionate about is education. And I absolutely love education and what it represents, and just find that I'm in a very happy place when I am reading, writing, and developing content or conceptualizing new ideas from existing ideas. And that led to then a lot of the education and the programming. I've created various workouts, and it really is just a way for me to help more people with the way that I look at human movement.
So when you're like doing these trainings, what is the type of business model? Like, do you have a membership thing, or is it one-on-one stuff, group? How have you approached that education aspect?
Yeah, so all of my businesses, for the most part, has always targeted much higher up the totem pole or up the rung, meaning to the professional versus the end user. As much as, lay people, patients could use content that I create, and many do, the language and the true target is for the physical therapist, the coach, the podiatrist, the chiropractor, so that they can then use that information to then help their patients. So that's always been the business model. Furthermore, with the education company, part of the business model is for it to grow globally. And I travel to a majority of these countries teaching. This is early on in my career. It gets harder and harder, not just with COVID, but harder and harder as I get older. I now have a daughter, so I can't travel and leave the country for 4 weeks at a time like I used to. So part of the business is that I have master instructors that will teach my courses in their native language and in their country. So I have 14 master instructors around the world. They teach our education in 12 different languages. So it's been translated to many different languages. They deliver it without it having to be translated. And then they pay a royalty to me or to the company for any education that they teach out of my creation, let's say. And that's the education business model.
Wow. So how was that journey to get there? Like, just scaling from yourself to now having these teams? Like, were there some sort of obstacles that you had to face that you weren't really expecting when you were growing to this level?
Yeah. So part of it is kind of the pricing model, right? There's an existing pricing model that I was not aware of. So I had to look at colleagues and mentors within the profession to essentially model the way that they did that. And say, like, okay, if you create a program and you want that program to be taught by other educators in other countries, how do you set that up? What's the revenue model? What's the average kind of royalty fee that gets pushed back to me, the parent company? And then another important aspect to that is for me to create a course and me to teach it. Obviously, I can be coming up with the stuff in my head as I'm teaching because I created it. You have to be very, you have to be able to Xerox what you're doing. And I think that a lot of people overlook that aspect. Is in order for me to create something and create it in a way that other people can then teach it and teach it similar to how I do, it has to be written and templated in a certain way. And then the way that I train them to teach my content has to be in a very systematic way. That was a huge learning process of essentially vetting out who were going to be the best educators to deliver my message in as an authentic way as I would want it to be delivered. And you really do go through a lot of people to find those that are like, the golden little nuggets who really are the special professionals that can deliver it with the same level of passion that I do. So it's definitely a learning process from both the financial business model and then finding the right team members in other countries to continue your message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see how that being so quite a challenge to find people that really want to share the same and represent your brand and your business exactly how you would. So with that being said, how has that process been for you to be creating this community and just marketing your brand and your business in such a way that you've been able to grow to so many countries?
Yeah, so really, it is the consistency of creating the community is what I find, and fostering that community, making them feel like they're becoming part of something larger. I do have to go to many of these countries, at least once a year generally, just to kind of show face as the founder and support what they're doing. We actually hold a master instructor camp once a year where we get everyone together. Again, COVID shook this up, but we would do it in, Southeast Asia. We did it in the Middle East before. We did it in Europe, and we go to different areas within the world and bring everyone together to kind of recreate the excitement. I'm continuously updating the content as well. So every 2 years, I freshen up the concepts that are taught within the courses. So it uses the latest research. It's fresh, it's new, it's exciting. And then they have to be retrained on that new content to then deliver it. But it's definitely important for them to feel empowered as well, that they're not just delivering me and it's this Dr. Emily show, but that they actually have a true connection to the content as well. And one thing that I will say is that when you do empower people to a certain way, sometimes they take it and they run and try to do their own thing, it's just a natural part of, I think, business is you have a team and then the team one of the team members might kind of branch off and think they could do their own thing. And not that it would be a competitor, but kind of it would be, is just a natural process of, humans and humans being inspired. I take it a little bit more as that person was so inspired by what they learned that they now are branching off. Granted, don't compete or take my IP, but yeah.
Yeah, you got to look at it as it's a compliment. Like they like what you're
Exactly.
doing. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just curious. So you're specializing in this barefoot training. Can you tell us the type of people that you want to work with? Who would your ideal client be?
Yeah. So who typically attends my lectures and my certifications are all the allied health and wellness. So that could be from Pilates, massage, reflexology, chiropractors, physical therapists, some podiatrists, just because, again, that's my background is podiatry. And they are really the forward thinkers within their profession. They are challenging conformity. They want to not just take what is given at face value and say, no, I think that there might actually be more that I could offer my clients and patients from a rehab setting or a performance setting. And then that's where a lot of the concepts that I teach, which are barefoot science-based, neurological-based. I try to get people out of shoes. I challenge orthotics. I do a lot of fascial work, so connecting to connective tissue within the body and small muscles through different techniques. So it takes really a forward-thinking professional to buy into this new way of looking at human movement, the foot, and you could say rehab and performance.
Right. Did you find that, like, how was that approach? Like, how did that work for you when you're trying to sell people on these new concepts? Did you get much backlash, or were most people kind of interested in this new philosophy or new way of thinking?
Most of the backlash was from the podiatry community. So my people did not like that I was doing this, but you definitely have to have thick skin. Mm-hmm. And if anyone who's listening and is going into business from a disruptive standpoint, or you're trying to change people's behavior or challenge existing behaviors, mm-hmm. you have to have extremely thick skin, because you're going to have the naysayers, the haters, people who, you know, you're fighting their ego essentially, because it's their way of thinking that you're trying to challenge that. And you get a lot of pushback or threat responses in a sense. But if you know, in your heart or into your bones that you are doing the right thing and that you are actually helping people, or you are changing the world for a better, bigger purpose, then you have to stay true to what you're doing. And I learned that the hard way. And there's definitely many tears along the way, because people would be so rude and send me letters and emails that I am an embarrassment to the podiatry community, that I'm not a podiatrist, that I am, single-handedly ruining this profession, like really, really mean things that as a just graduated from residency, I was 30 years old, very new to being in the medical community. To do that to someone could be very damaging, mm-hmm. but I just kind of kept getting thicker and thicker skin until now, 14 years later in my entrepreneurial journey. Now it's kind of like full circle that people are like, oh, maybe she was on to something. Maybe she's actually helping people in this way. So now people are coming back, and it's just kind of interesting. It's human nature.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us a little bit about what that was like for you, though. I want to hear that challenge of getting that feedback and, like tears are cried and stuff. Like, how did you overcome that and just keep showing up despite what people might have been saying about your philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, most of it, again, was in podiatry specifically. So I was like, okay, then if my people are not supporting me and are actually bringing me down, then that's fine. I'm going to look at these other professionals who are more open-minded, just by the nature of the education. Chiropractors and physical therapists, massage therapists, they're much more open to new ideologies than some other more traditional medical specialties. So I focused there. And then I also focused globally, which is part of what we were speaking about. And if people are more open to this in Asia or across Europe, then I'm going to go where people are more open to it. And responded very positively. It allowed me to perfect my delivery and what my content would be. And I would listen, I would continue to read research articles. So it evolved into what it is now, that when I do speak to my people within the podiatry community, if there's still naysayers and they say stuff, I have 14 years kind of behind me that I'm just like, you're just not ready to hear this, that my skin is kind of so thick at that point. But, it's definitely a part of growth is having people challenge you. And I think they often say that when if you're not getting haters and naysayers, then you're not loud enough in your delivery. And I've started doing this with my other company, Naboso, which is a sensory product line. Our insoles are totally flat. I don't believe in arch support. And we're using texture to activate and stimulate and strengthen the feet. So people definitely haters on that. But again, it's if I'm not loud enough or bold enough or polar enough in my statements out from a media or marketing perspective, then I'm not going to get the haters. And I need to get, you kind of have to get the haters and the naysayers to show you are being loud enough. And we are helping so many people through the Naboso products and through my different techniques that I am like, be loud, be disruptive, be bold. I want these people challenging me, because then I know that it's pushing to this point of brand awareness.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And I find it's like so empowering to be like, just bring it on, like, tell me what you have. And you can use that almost to shape your business and to shape your vision, right? If you're super strong on that. I'm curious though. So you did service, like you were offering an educational service, and then now you created an actual product that you're selling. How was that transition, or how was that to go from just services to then trying to create and build and sell an actual product?
Ooh, product-based companies are so hard. Oh my goodness. I love service-based companies or content-based, because there's one, much less overhead, and the expenses that are involved for either a digital company or a service-based company, very, very different, where, now a majority of our cash is sitting in physical goods, and the cash flow game or strategy to grow is very difficult to navigate with a product-based company. And now with the whole COVID chaos around us, is supply chain and just all of the logistics side of things definitely is challenging product-based companies, because you're trying to get your goods in. Even things like tape and boxes to fulfill orders, all of that stuff was on back order for a while. And it's like, I need to get these orders out. So there's definitely a lot of differences that are involved in service versus physical goods. The IP protection, so the number of patents that we have to file and all the legality side of things, is just another animal to kind of go down that road to make sure that you're protected. And then it's really navigating investors, right? So investors probably would want to invest in my product-based company versus my education company, because the revenue potential is very different in one versus the other. And, yes, we make good revenue on education, but it's not the same scalability of a physical good.
Right, right. So now that you've done all this, you have like, you're really checking off all the things that you can do. Like, what is your next goal? Like, what does your next 12 months ideally look like, or your future plans for this?
Yeah, so we are, with my products company, we've been trending 2x revenue every year, which is great. We're on track to hit 2x in 22 as well. And then an important part of our growth is new product launches. So we have a couple new products that are coming out. And it's something really important that I learned over the last couple of years, is the power of continuously innovating. If we had just one product, and you try to serve the same customer, the same product, it's very difficult unless it's something like, I don't know, shaving cream, something that you use and you could get on like a subscription basis, which a lot of companies are now subscription based. The products that we have at Naboso, they really don't work to be subscription based, because they last, a year or longer. They're like a fitness mat or an insole or a release ball. So it has to be another strategy to keep the customers coming back, while at the same time, obviously increasing your new customers. So an important part of that is new product innovation. So we have 3 new products that are launching within the next 6 months to support that continued growth.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sounds very busy, but sounds really impactful and awesome. So when, I just want to ask, so if people are interested or someone's listening, like, where can they find your work? Where could they learn more about you and maybe get on board with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to learn a little bit more on my podiatry practice, which just shows a lot of how I use my name as a brand, is dremilysplichal.com, dremilysplichal.com. That's my podiatry website. And then I'm on Instagram, dremilydpm. My education company, just in case any of the listeners are curious about a education or content-based company, that website is EBFA Global.com. And then on social, it's EBFA_barefoot education. And then my product-based company is Naboso. That's NABOSO.com. And then on social, that is Naboso_technology.
Perfect. Awesome. I just want to wrap this up a little bit. I always like asking at the end if there's one final piece of advice or something that you want us all to be thinking about after this call.
Yeah. So I would say I'm a big believer in kind of the dream or the ideation of an idea, but there has to be action behind it. Mm-hmm. So every single day, just do something that is taking that step forward or is a very actionable item towards what your dream or your goal is. And do not let fear stop you from doing anything.
I love it. Perfect. Yeah, that kind of concludes this interview. Thank you so much for joining. And I hope people can learn more and just the power of stepping out of the boundaries and what's told to be right. Like, I hope people feel more empowered to do something like that. So thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, you're so welcome.